guest told me today something that stopped me mid sentence. Right now, there are more AI agents browsing web than human. Over 60% of web traffic is agents, not people. If you're building a product, a landing page, anything online, your real audience might not be human anymore. That's the kind of signal you only get from someone who talks to hundreds of founders and engineers every week. She leads developer relations at U.com and runs a community called Founders Bay. Let's get into it. Mariane, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Of course, I'm really excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Before we get into it, can you give me 30-second version of how you went from leading engineering teams through IPO to running a 250K community and doing DevRel at Frontier AI company?
Yeah. So I used to lead engineering team. My most recent stint was at MindBody. After I left the company, we got acquired by one of the largest private equity firm. And then I wanted to kind of dedicate a big chunk of my career in helping promote more women in tech. So then I founded a company called Upward Recruiting to help companies hire more women engineers. And through that process, I found myself being an accidental entrepreneur. So then I started going to all these founder events in the Bay Area. And then the one pattern that I kept seeing was that I always found myself being one of the only women in the room. So I'm like, okay, well, where are all the women founders? I can't find them. So let me create a community for us where we can feel safe and supported. And that's how Founders Bay came to be. And then throughout the next 2 years and a half of founding Founders Bay, because the women joined our mission, we're very mission driven, and a lot of people resonated with that. So through a combination of events, my newsletter, and social media, we were able to grow extremely fast. And then I was missing the tech aspect of things because I'm an engineer at heart, and U.com had reached out because they had this open role and it fit really well with what I wanted to do, which is combine tech and communities together. And that's how I ended up at U.com while running Founders Bay.
Wow, that's an exciting journey. You watched hundreds of teams ship agentic AI workflows. What's the failure pattern that happens almost every single time when you're talking to these founders? Why are some of these founders making to the next stages on their company and some founders are not so much making to the next stages of the company?
Yeah. So I would say the founders who really succeed are the ones that have a good network. The thing is, to build a startup, you need to raise funding eventually, right? And then you also need to sell a product. A lot of the founders they start with this idea, I have this idea to do X, right? But an idea alone or a product alone does not make a company. You need to network, you need to build relationships, you need to get attention. So the founder who did make it actually go and they spend a good chunk of their time going to network with investors, going to network with customers, really being out there and building a strong network that will support them through that journey. The founders that I see potentially don't make it are the ones that started a company because they somehow want to think that product is needed, right? So they're like, okay, well, I have an idea for product X, it's needed, let me build it. But then they go and they kind of build in isolation for 6 months to a year. They try to build their MVP. They don't really talk to anybody. They don't focus on building a network. And then when they release the product, they're trying to sell a product that nobody really told them that they need. And then they spend a lot of effort trying to find product market fit. But at that point, they already spent their savings. So one of the things that I recommend for founders is before you even build your product, go and talk to people, figure out if they need it, figure out if they want to use it. When you're building, try to build something within a month and release it. And then just start small instead of going on your own corner and building something that people may not need.
Finding the right customers, if customers need the product and iterating over it with that MVP. What are the things you think during these community events you are hosting? How is it structured? And not just like uh, pure networking, but founders able to build long-term relationship when they are going to those events.
Yeah, I would say At the end of the day, understanding that an investor is a human too, a client is a human too. One of the things that I see happening a lot is like founders, they go and they see that someone is an investor, and immediately they're like, "Hi, I am blah." Right? Can you invest in my company? And imagine like you yourself as a person, imagine you're walking on the street and somebody goes to you and they're like, "Hey, do you want to give me $100,000?" Right? Like, what would be your first reaction? It would be like, "I don't know who you are. Like, I'm not really sure. I didn't build trust with you. I don't know you." So I would say, like, instead of going to events and trying to figure out, okay, I really need to like sell my product. I really need to meet investors and sell to them on the spot. Just go to an event to build a real relationship, right? Like, go and ask them questions, become their friend, figure out if they can even invest in you before you pitch them. And then also always focus on like giving. If you're always taking and not giving in a community, then you will not really build a really great reputation.
Giving and not just taking.
Exactly.
It's something I learned in Adam Grant TED Talk, where he talked about how givers win in the long term gain. I'm curious, you are in a unique spot. You see what breaks across dozens of companies, but you don't have to personally fix any of it. Does that distance make you more honest about what's not working, or does it mean you missed something that people actually building it would catch?
Like, yeah, I think like I'm in a unique position where I get to kind of see the trends before they become mainstream, because I get like every week we host probably like 3 to 5 events. That means every week we're bringing 300, 400 people together, and I attend a lot of those events. So I'm talking to so many people every week, and then and I'm a very curious people by nature, so when I go and I meet at events, I really get to know the person and ask about them. And I think that just really gives me a better insight on what is going on. And then I can take kind of those trends and build the next event according to that trend, right? Like if I see, okay, well, humanoids are growing, well, what can we start a humanoid group? If I see that now people are talking about like agentic AI, I can talk more about agentic AI. So I'm in a very unique position to be able to talk to so many people every week.
If you had to bet on one thing that's going to quietly break everything in production for 6 months, somebody nobody is worried about yet, what would it be?
A lot of people now are building website for people, right? Like if you're going and you're building a landing page, or if you're building a product for a human to use, right? And then the majority of people of the things that is browsing the internet are now agents, then you're kind of missing out on a great opportunity. So I think that trend that I'm seeing, it's something that entrepreneurs should be worried about. Like when you are building a website, when you're building a new product, think about your seller not as human beings anymore, but actually agents that go surf the web on their own.
Wow, agent making the website more appealing for agents. Even when I'm doing this podcast, I make try to make it more appealing for human beings. And it's a different mindset how to make it more appealing for agents and machines to index it better. I think that's a great one to tap into for future founders.
Exactly, exactly. It's like how do you make sure like you're building now your platform not for other humans, but now for like agents, right? That means you need to build more with APIs. You need to do like GEO for your website. So just thinking about these things in advance.
Do you believe that AI bubble is getting to a similar phase, which was like .com bubble a while back?
I actually believe the opposite. I think people are calling it a bubble. I believe that it's going to grow even more than it is. And I think now we're actually seeing a renaissance of the like of humans, right? Like the same thing when fire got invented, when the wheel got invented, when agriculture got invented, it really changed our entire society. And I really believe that like AI is not a bubble. It's a thing that is going to change the essence of our society. And I think that not enough people are actually jumping into it, because if you think about it, LLMs and AI is going to change the entirety of our life. Like now, the majority of people, they have 9 to 5, office jobs, right? But now agents are going to be the new kind of office worker. Now with AI, me as an entrepreneur, I could do 10 jobs at a time, right? What does that mean? It means like as a founder, I need like less money than before. So more founders are going to start happening. Right now, humanoids are starting to become a thing and they're starting to become powerful. Maybe in 5 years, we're going to see humanoids walking around us, right? Like there's a shortage of nurses. Why couldn't a humanoid help out with some of these tasks? So I actually believe it's the opposite of a bubble. It's going to continue growing. Humanity and society is going to continue changing at a rate we've never seen before. So I really recommend, if you haven't jumped on the AI train, to start learning about it, to start like vibe coding, to start using Google Cloud to read the news so that you don't get taken by surprise.
What's the biggest AI challenge for developers, for team shipping agents, or to you personally trying to keep up with what you're seeing?
Yeah, I would say right now, like AI is moving so increasingly fast. There's so many tools coming up almost every day. I think the challenge that developers are gonna have is like, how do you kind of keep up with everything that is happening, right? One of the things that I recommend for developers is, instead of just like reading about it, start your own project, right? If you have an idea that you've always tried to do, well, try to vibe code it yourself. And then with that, you're gonna try to use like AI to vibe to code it. Use MCP servers, try to connect with like agent skills, just understanding all of these like little nuances of like coding that could really help you stay engaged. So for me, for example, for Founders Bay, I wanted to build a platform where my community can connect online. So even though I'm a coder and I've been coding for 15 years, it didn't make sense for me and to go write code the way that I used to write. So instead, I started using Replit, I started using Lovable, I started using Google Claude, all of these tools to vibe code it. And then from that, I learned so much about like how AI behaves. So for developers, right now, it's no longer about you yourself coding like different parts of the application. It's you managing 10 or 20 agents that are coding for you and like managing them in a way that actually makes your product stable. So if you're a developer and you're still writing code like by hand, if you're not managing 10 AI agents, then other developers are going to grow faster because they're going to be like 20x more productive than you are.
One of the thing I'm seeing as we are getting agent to write more code is quality of the product. I feel like a lot of these agents are not deterministic. They create random output, lot of hallucination or bugs in the production. How do founders scale with those agents?
Yeah, definitely. Like an agent is going to go and create a lot of bugs. That's something that I learned the hard way, where I'm like, oh, I can build all these features. And then suddenly I go and I build 20 feature. And then when I go test it out, it looks great, but it actually does not work. So I would say that's where like you go back to the essence of software engineering. When you were coding, right? Like as an amazing developer, you always wanted to make sure that your code is tested. So I go after my agent like finishes a feature, I tell it, go and write unit tests, go and write feature tests. I design the CI/CD the same way an amazing developer would do. So now, before I push my code to production, I have my unit test running, I have my integration test running. I go and like every day I ask Claude to go use the browser to go test it like a human does. So all of these things that we used to do, then we should continue teaching the AI agent to do it. And then instead of telling it to build like 20 feature, I just do it like one feature at a time. I'm like, go and build this, go and write unit tests, go and test it out. And then I try it out myself. And then when I'm happy about it, then I release it. So like the CI/CD pipeline that had unit testing, that had manual testing, we should just bring it back to agents and assume that they don't know it. So it's kind of an agent, it's like having a kind of a maybe mid-level junior engineer who can write the code, but not necessarily the architecture and the processes around it.
Do agents need search APIs or will frontier model eventually internalize enough that retrieval becomes less critical? What's your honest take?
Yeah, that's a great question. Agents absolutely need web search APIs, right? Like right now, if you go ask Claude for the latest news, or if you go and ask it questions or to like different questions, it's not going to have the latest and greatest web results, right? Even like OpenAI, open source model uses the u.com web search APIs. So if you need like real time information, like Claude, I need information about X that happened in the last 2 weeks. So then that's where you use search APIs. So for example, I use the u.com search API in my Founders Bay when I want to go to search for all the upcoming conferences that are happening. I can ask Claude, but Claude does not go and browse the internet for you, right? It doesn't do it in a really amazing way. So I'm actually using the u.com API to tell it like, hey, go and find all of the events that are happening. And that's how I keep my list up to date. So absolutely people need to use like a web search API so that the agent can go and browse this internet.
And when you see engineers building with these APIs, what are they actually frustrated about? There is also frustration, either the latency issues or things which engineers are not telling publicly, but they are talking in these networking events you are hosting. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, what is the feedback you are receiving in the field?
So one of the things that I recommend is to set up evals. And evals, what it does is that it looks for freshness, it looks for latency, it looks for accuracy, and then you can try out different like APIs, different search APIs, and then you can measure them against those criteria. What I'm so lucky to work at u.com is that like if you set up an eval with u.com compared to like with from our other competitors, we're always beating on accuracy, on freshness, on latency. So I recommend like trying out different tools and setting up evals to see what works the best for your use case. Yeah, I think there's this creation of like the forward deployed engineer that is becoming really popular. The other thing that I'm seeing is like AI engineer, right? I think we're going to see less and less of like front end engineering, of back end engineering. Why? Because like now when you're coding, it's not like Claude goes and does the front end and then it does the back end separately. It all does it together. So I would say like we're going to see the rise of like full stack engineering because you don't need now to write like the front end separately, the back end separately. You just need to manage Claude by itself. So having like full stack engineers be kind of the default type of engineering, AI engineering, full stack vibe coding, forward deploy engineering, those are really going to grow exponentially over time.
And how do you see folks who are trying to transition to this title and maybe say they are front end engineer or back end engineer and they want to evolve to AI engineer or forward deployed engineer? How do they go about it? How do you have seen folks transition to these new titles?
Yeah, I would say like if you are a front end engineer, right? Again, if you're any kind of engineer, start using like Claude or start using Cursor or start using any of the tools to yourself use AI to code. And if you do that after a month, you're gonna like become pretty proficient at it. For forward deployed engineer, I would say like it's probably you start out as like a solution architect, right? If you are a solution architect and you've worked with customers in the past where you help them debug, where you help them like you helped with their technology, then that's a really great skill set to have because as a forward deploy engineer, you need to combine like technology and also the ability to talk with clients. So I've seen a lot of like solution architects apply to forward deployed engineers. If you are a fresh grad, right, and you have amazing people skill, then that's something that you can also apply to because like we look for people who are really good at like talking to clients for that role as well. And then for like more on the AI engineering side, on the ML engineering side, I do believe that like you still need to learn like the theory behind how like AI works. So you can take like different courses on YouTube. There's Udemy you can use. There's Coursera, and then like trying to learn the theory behind it before applying to these types of jobs.
And does DevRel content eventually even matter anymore? Or do you think that will also evolve?
Yeah, I actually think like DevRel is going to matter even more because as more people are building products, because now like your ability to build a product, but for people to build products, they need to use tooling. They used to need dev tooling. So DevRel, what is DevRel? DevRel is like somebody advocating and building community around these tooling. And right now, I think like that's the way to grow a company. What makes someone successful is kind of their go-to market engine. It's their ability to build developer community. It's the ability to like advocate for your product. And that's a game changer for startup. And that's exactly what DevRel does. The number of DevRel engineers that we're going to have per company is going to increase because that's a huge competitive advantage compared to other competitors.
I totally agree with you. I want to us back to the time when you started it.
Yeah, I'll always remember the first event that I did. So what I did is like I started writing about the different issues that women founders experience. So I'm Lebanese. Nobody is gonna show up. This is very nerve-wracking. But guess what? Like 20 women founders showed up and we had such an amazing time because before there wasn't really any group for women founders. It was really successful. And then I started partnering up with different event organizers. So I partnered with Girls in Tech. It's a nonprofit to also promote more like women using like and being in technology. And then we did our first like women gala. A bunch of women showed up. So like then my event started taking off event. And now like we throw a huge event for 2,000 people and we throw like small dinners and we throw mid-level event. So like I'm very grateful to have such an amazing community that really shows up to the different events and to the different activities that we're doing.
If someone is starting right now from the, what do you recommend? Where should they start? No audience, no budget. How do they go about it?
Yeah, I would say you have at your fingertip one of the greatest distribution channel, which is social media. That's how I did it. So like identify who your ICP is. Like what kind of community do you want to build and what is your mission for the community, right? So let's say you're like, okay, well, I want to have a community of software engineers. Then you go and you figure out, okay, well, who are the 10 popular influencers, right? What are they writing about? Who are their audience? And then you kind of get inspiration for yourself. So you can start like writing a LinkedIn post, you can start writing on X, you can start following other people, you can start engaging with content. And slowly you're going to start getting 5 people to follow you, then 10 people to follow you, then 20 people to follow you. And then once you have that, then you can do like a small dinner, invite them. You don't need to organize an event for 200 people. You can literally like book a restaurant for 10 people next week, invite a few folks and see who shows up. And over time, all these things like compound with each other and you can find yourself with like a huge community.
That's super motivating. I feel like it's that muscle of being persistent and keep building it, and then eventually that big milestone will be achieved.
Exactly. It's like consistency, right? It's not easy to run event. So if you're starting like a community or an event to like make money or be the next billionaire, you're not really going to find that, right? It's not a startup. You build it because you have a very specific mission. And sometimes it's really hard to keep going because again, you're not being rewarded for that event. So I would say like consistency, just understand your mission, be anchored in it, and that's what's going to keep you going.
You just sold a 600 plus person event with in person and having a wait list. What's the thing you learned from being away that you'll do it differently now?
Yeah, I would say I would definitely try to find people to help me earlier on. Like at first, I would like set up the event myself. I would clean up. I would do guest check-in, like the entire event for 200 people. I would try to run it myself. But then like when I ask for help, I actually receive it. Now we have community ambassadors that are amazing that show up, that volunteer for event. I hired a community lead, which is also great. She like handles a lot of the events for me. So I would say like don't try to do it yourself, especially if you have a specific mission. Find others who believe in what you do and then ask for their help. And then you can then have a much bigger impact than doing it all alone.
How do you see your role evolving to fill the gaps agentic AI is creating or exposing in terms of developer relations and community right now?
Anybody can go and can build your product with vibe coding. It's like community, who follows you, what they follow you for. So how I see my role as like especially the head of DevRel at U.com is continue building our community of developers, continue giving back to the community. And that's going to be our biggest like competitive advantage more than technology, more than anything else. It's like the people who follow us, the people who believe in us, and how can we also make their life better. So I'm just like seeing more and more the role of community play out in corporate America.
What still feels hard to you right now, and what you have not figured out yet?
Yeah, I think for me personally, like I'm a single mom of two kids. My son has like a disability. I have not figured out how to properly manage everything. Like just recording this podcast, my son is out of school. He's like playing Xbox. I feel extremely guilty all the time, right? When I'm working, I feel guilty I'm not with my kids. And when with my kids, I feel guilty because I'm not giving 100% to my company, to my community. And I think that's something like as parents, we always struggle with. So I hope that I can figure out a way to just deal with that guilt because like it's hard. It's like I feel like I'm always failing at something.
That mom guilt yes, I also have it.
It
And
never
it
goes away.
never stops. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you for joining us today. It was so nice having you and learning more about DevRel, how to build community, and giving back to community.
Yeah, it was so great chatting with you, Lena. Thank you so much for having me.
Marianne said something near the end of this conversation that I haven't been able to shake. She told me she still feels guilty all the time. Guilty when she's working and not with her kids. Guilty when she is with her kids and not fully in her company. She said, I feel like I'm always falling at something. I am always failing at something. I think that's true for a lot of us building things, whether it's a company, community, or both. It doesn't get solved. You just keep showing up anyway. Until next time, stay curious, keep building, and bring someone along for the ride.